Hey roamers, guess where we're going today? We're going to space.
The New Mexico Museum of Space History in Alamogordo, New Mexico, was dedicated on October 5th during America's bicentennial year of 1976 as the International Space Hall of Fame. But why here? You may not have heard of Alamogordo, New Mexico, but its place in the development of scientific and technological advancements is well deserved. From the 1940s to the 1970s, science, education, and prosperity reigned in the city of Alamogordo, and it loved its relationship with science and military developments. Nearby White Sands Missile Range has earned the title of the birthplace of America's missile and space activity.
We're at the New Mexico Museum of Space History in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and they've got a whole bunch of missiles.
Yeah, all kinds of missiles, all kinds of stuff about space. They have a planetarium.
Parachute test vehicle, unmanned sled. So it went across the ground.
They would test parachutes with it.
That's for the stealth fighter. That's the trainer. Very cool. Wow. So go up to 5, he said.
Yeah, there's a button though you gotta push.
Wow.
Guess what I found here in the Space Museum in New Mexico? Some of the artwork from one of my favorite bands, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Check that out. I have a lot of the stickers from the space shuttle program because earlier in my life I worked in aerospace. I actually made parts for the space shuttle and the Titan missile. So it's really pretty cool seeing a lot of the patches and stuff like that here in the museum.
On January 31st, 1961, little 3-year-old Ham was the first great ape who went into space. His name is derived from the acronym for the lab he was trained at, New Mexico's Holloman Aeromedical. He was selected from 40 chimpanzee candidates for his ability to learn to do simple tasks to gain rewards of banana treats. Although Ham's tiny capsule lost pressure during the flight test, Ham's spacesuit saved him, proving the success of safety protocols for the flight of human primate Alan Shepard a few months later. Ham was rewarded by being able to live out his days at the National Zoo and later at the North Carolina Zoo. His remains are buried here at the museum.
Here so you can see Sputnik that crushed us when we were trying to get to outer space first is this little tiny beach ball size or exercise ball.
Brigadier General Chuck Yeager became our hero after we saw the 1983 movie The Right Stuff, which included actor Sam Shepard playing Yeager. This liquid-fueled rocket engine is the same as the one that powered his X-1 plane to break the sound barrier for the first time in 1947. Yeager is quoted as saying, "If you can walk away from a landing, it's a good landing." In The Right Stuff, for those who are too young to remember the start of the space race, we learned a little about what it felt like to be chosen for the space program in the 1960s. In the museum, there's a whole section that gives you a taste of the mania and hero worship that surrounded the chosen men and their families. I think one of the things that connects the baby boomer generation is space and the moon landings, and watching live TV in every classroom or the auditorium even of the significant moments, all narrated for us by Walter Cronkite.
Behind me here is photos of the astronauts that were involved in the Apollo 11, which was the first spacewalk. Michael Collins, of course, didn't get to land on the moon himself, but I remember it, and I'm sure everyone that's 55, 60, probably 60 and over, I remember gathering at a friend's house and everybody gathering around the TV for when Neil Armstrong stepped out and put his feet on the moon. It was like I can remember the excitement of everyone in the room.
So here's your first action camera. This is the camera they used on Apollo 14 back in 1971. Went from that to the GoPro.
The museum really puts a lot of emphasis on imagination, specifically you or your children's imagination.
Still showing you well above the glide slope. We do need you to get down now. 5,000. Radar altitude checking up.
There's so many hands-on displays. We had so much fun trying things.
As you get closer to the tower, watch how the signal strength grows into the green region.
I don't know what he said about the green region. I just know I'm getting dizzy.
Okay, remember there's a dust storm coming, so I'll guide you to the beacon tower.
What does that mean? Do I have to do something? Okay, now what?
Okay, now that you're close to the radio tower, see how your signal strength meter
Until when they light up, see it lights up, and that tells you that you're within the margin of error for proper deceleration.
My hands are clean now.
Okay.
Like a surgeon.
Yeah. Even though you're going to put them in rubber gloves?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And they're already, so what am I supposed to do? It's supposed to...
The yellow things, that
Oh.
one, you turn that one.
Try to turn that on with those rubber
Turn it on
gloves.
and off with the
Okay.
gloves.
Oh my goodness. I did it. And then what's the other
And
thing?
then the middle one, you turn that clockwise.
Wow.
That's a valve. And the far one is like a door handle. You slide it back and forth like that.
Wow. I imagine it's a little better if they're fitted to you.
Yeah.
Just riding up and down the elevators is really cool.
Oh,
No.
what?
This button.
Oh, I would have looked eventually.
Yeah, you don't want to push any of these buttons. You actually want to push those buttons.
And as enjoyable as all that is, we're so glad the volunteer made a point to mention the bathrooms.
Oh, we're on Mars. The men's bathroom on the first floor is in Mars.
cars like Mars. Kids can dress up in here. Oh, cool.
They even have a mock-up of 1983's Space Lab, which was our first joint venture with other countries. The module was built in Europe and carried into space by our space shuttle. As a reusable laboratory, the first mission involved dozens of experiments carried out by 2 teams, including, as another first, specialists in just the payload that they were transporting.
They had touch screens. Oh my gosh. We didn't feel that when we were on the beach. Stand on this. Oh my gosh.
Basically, this creates water vapor.
Talk.
Yeah.
Exhaust that you can see. Solid.
Wow.
All kinds of metal particles.
We've been fortunate to watch several space shuttles landing. One literally flew over our home when we lived near Edwards Air Force Base in California. The other times we actually went to the base to watch the shuttles land. And we got to see one take off from Cape Canaveral.
When I worked in aerospace back in California, I actually met this guy. He was in the part of the shuttle program. Pretty neat. Here I see his picture. I actually shook his hand and got to talk to him and stuff. Pretty cool.
Why was he there?
He was just there going to contractors who worked on the space shuttle program. So it's pretty cool.
So that they could make the connection of what they were doing
Right.
and what the result was. That's
Yeah.
good PR.
And he was handing out stickers to everybody from the shuttle mission that he was on. So it was really cool.
Of course, before we left the main building, I had to check out the gift shop. Some pretty cool stuff, and you can shop online. There's a link in the video description. We had one more thing we had to see before our day was complete. If you've seen the movie A Christmas Story, you'll remember that Ralphie's greatest desire in life was to own a Daisy air rifle. Well, the inventors of this air-powered track grew up in that time period.
Wow.
Which is why this air-powered sled track was named the Daisy Decelerator.
Imagine sitting in there. What's this, a car seat to hell?
In operation from 1955 to 1985, it was used to study the effects of acceleration, deceleration, and the impact on the human body and various equipment systems.
That was the first sled. Let's strap you into this bench seat from a truck and see how you handle it. And that would see how you handle G-force, like blasting off. But at some point it was an experiment, not just a personal test. They also used the experiments from that to determine what kind of seatbelts were best to have in our vehicles for us. So we got space sticks and seatbelts, among a lot of other things. This would spin. Oh my gosh. I can't even handle the teacups at Disneyland. That's what they do with that? Is just spin it?
Well, they can put you in different positions.
Oh. And
then-
this would still attach to the track.
Correct.
It's not how fast you go, it's how fast you stop.
We hope you enjoyed roaming with Rosie today. For more information on the places featured in this episode, check out the links in the video description, as well as products and equipment we use and recommend. We sometimes do receive a small commission when you use our links for purchases, which is a great way at no additional cost to you to help offset some of our production costs. Thank you so much for watching and sharing our videos and subscribing to Roaming with Rosie. We'd love to hear from you and encourage your comments and questions. Until next time, see ya!